Okay, well, good morning again, everybody. Welcome back here to St. Paul's Church National Historic Site, Mount Vernon, New York, and our series History from St. Paul's. Today, talking about the interesting story behind this large bronze plaque here, 31 by 26, by the way, that enshrines the memory of 13 men who played important military and political roles in the success of the American Revolution and are buried here at St. Paul's. The tablet is sponsored by the Bronx chapter as Daughters of the American Revolution, affixed on Memorial Day 1924. So the Daughters of the American Revolution goes back to 1890, time of rising interest in America's origins, people interested in their connections to it, the United States emerging as a world power. And the DAR is actually founded as a sense of exclusion. The sons of the American Revolution, already established, men who trace their ancestry back to somebody who participated in the successful struggle for independence, would not let the women join. So as a corollary, really, as an exclusionary organization, initially they founded the Daughters of the American Revolution, women who could trace their ancestry back to somebody who participated in the successful struggle for independence. The local chapter here, the Bronx chapter, founded in 1898. Bronx was for the Bronx River, where New York was established as a state, July 9, 1776, established here in Mount Vernon. And by the early 20th century, they're a healthy DAR chapter, have dozens of members engaged in patriotic and educational activities. They sponsored a reading alcove. It was then the new Mount Vernon Public Library, essay contests on American history, always attending the patriotic organizational events with flags and their presence, kind of what the DAR, which is still around, still does, you know, patriotic and educational activities. And one of the things they did, this plaque is, you know, emblematic, they affixed these brief but permanent history lessons to the local landscape here in southern Westchester and the northern Bronx. They have several plaques like this marking important events in the American Revolution in our vicinity. And their activities here at St. Paul's kind of a logical extension. You know, it's a Mount Vernon-based chapter of a patriotic heritage organization, American Revolution. The church itself was here, of course, at that time. It was used as a hospital by both sides during the Revolutionary War. Many military actions, small, medium, large, in this area. This was one of the focal points of the American Revolution. So their engagement at St. Paul's is not at all surprising. Began in the early 20th century. They started to put footstones at the graves of some Revolutionary War soldiers buried here who had not had military stones or any military recognition. They put a plaque in the back where the Hessians, the Germans, the enemy who died in the church as a hospital, 1776, had never had a gravestone. They put a gravestone in the back, relocated a skeleton remains of American militia who were killed in battle with the British near here. 1777, they gave them a gravestone. This was their crowning achievement here at St. Paul's, and actually one of their last commitments. The unit disbanded in 1930. They took a broad view of participation in the American Revolution. The 13 names here include some of kind of what you'd think, you know, Captain Theodosius Fowler and Major Samuel Pell were men who committed themselves, you know, put their lives on the line, fought in the Continental Army throughout the war, fought in many major engagements. They were both at the Battle of Saratoga. They were both at the Battle of Yorktown, Virginia, October 1781, basically the last significant battle of the war, securing American independence. Comfort Sands served on the Provincial Committee of New York, 1776. That's kind of that transition period where the colonies are rebelling, but they haven't yet formally established, you know, a country, and there were temporary governments. He was part of that. Philip Pell was kind of back and forth between the Continental Army, served on Washington staff, Judge Advocate General. He was also in the New York State Assembly at some of the tougher times during the war. Who else is up here? One sec. Stephen Ward was a leading political figure in this community, their supervisor, leader of the Patriot forces, unfortunately well known to the British, wealthy man with a large house. His house was destroyed during the war as punishment by the British. He left the area for much of the war. He was in the State Assembly, lived up in Fishkill. As the Assembly met in Poughkeepsie, he served as the commissary of the Continental Army So they took a broad view of men who had leadership positions in the American Revolution. All 13 of these men probably knew each other. This is a small town at that time, you know, and leadership is drawn from pretty set social circles. So all 13 of these men knew each other through service on the vestry of the church, local government, or service in the militia and the Continental Army during the war. One of the salient lines here is, "and many unknown." So that is a reference to the fact that the church was used, we know, as a hospital by the Americans September and October 1776 during the New York campaign, when men who were injured or sick were taken out of their posts at other places in the New York theater, brought to what they thought was then safely behind the lines here to the church. No doubt many Patriot soldiers died here at that time, and their graves are unmarked or unknown, but that's their reference here. So the plaque is placed here on Memorial Day 1924. Usually in those years, Memorial Day was to honor the Civil War soldier, but there was enough tradition of, by then, Memorial Day is a time that we honor American soldiers who made sacrifices for the betterment of our country, so it seemed to go well enough that they were able to do it on Memorial Day. The plaque reads, "In memory of the patriots of the American Revolution who lie buried in this churchyard, Hezekiah Davis, George Hamilton, Captain Theodosius Fowler, Captain Gilbert Lyons, Major Samuel Pell, Colonel David I. Pell, Philip Pell, Comfort Sands, Lieutenant Daniel Searing, Captain Charles Turnbull, Captain Moore, Stephen Ward, Isaac Ward, and many unknown, erected by Bronx Chapter, Daughters of the American Revolution, May 30, 1924. And it was unveiled here and welcomed on a nice warm Memorial Day with a big crowd by Reverend Harold Boone. St. Paul's was still a functioning Protestant church at the time, and he welcomed it as a way that previously, through unofficial, informal means, people had known of the revolutionary soldiers and civilian leaders buried here who helped achieve independence. Now their names would be permanently enshrined, and there would be a record of it. So we hope you can join us again next time for another edition of History from St. Paul's.